Did you know at this very moment, someone is on Amazon and Etsy actively looking for a quality coloring and activity book to add to their shopping cart? The only question is, will it be yours? Since you're listening to this podcast, hence the name of the show, it's pretty safe to assume that you have a keen interest in creating and selling your first or next coloring book. And it's for that reason I want to assure you you're in the right place. And I'd like to help you make it a reality by inviting you to check out the Coloring Book Creator Mentor Program, the first of its kind complete A to Z course that features live weekly coaching, resources, templates, and an extremely supportive online community, all designed to assure that you create a standout in-demand coloring book that you'll actually enjoy creating, promoting, and selling. Imagine the feeling of knowing somewhere in the world someone is adding your beautiful new book to their shopping cart, investing in a piece of your creativity. Enrollment is open and you can get started by going to coloringbookcreatorcourse.com. That's coloringbookcreatorcourse.com.
Yeah, I'm slowly going to do that. Again, I'm breaking it down. Instead of saying, I got to talk to myself sometimes. Say, okay, you're overwhelmed. You can't do all at one time, but what can you do? I can do two or three at a time.
Exactly. That's why I was saying take the pressure off about it has to be the finished book. Because the bottom line about it is this. You've got to start marketing anyway. So maybe you do 2 or 3 pages at a time.
Yeah.
Those can become your lead magnet. So you can use the sampler document that I showed you how to do, put those in there. And then when you go to these, they say vendor events, okay, because we talked about postcards last time.
Right.
Yeah, do the postcard. The bottom line is we need some sample pages to give away. We need a place to collect email address and name. And we need a link that you can be put on the postcard. Then when you approach these venues or these places to come and do that, so let's say for an example, it's a fair or something like that. And you bring one page that you just give out, people to color. Then you can say, if you'd like to get there's 2 more, go to this page and put in your name and email address, and then you get those other 2 pages. That way you're building up the list.
Right.
Welcome to the special edition of the Coloring Book Creator Podcast. Over the next 10 episodes, I'm going to walk you through a 10-step roadmap I've created called Validate Your First or Next Coloring Book Idea Before You Make It. So now we're moving on to step number 9. Step number 9 is all about how to collect the information from people who have raised their hand from step number 6 on our interest post and said that they would like to get a sampler from our forthcoming book. This is called Launch a Pre-Publication Email List and Start Collecting Leads. Now we are in the almost next to final home stretch of this whole process. So again, each episode builds upon the other. So if you've not listened to the other ones, I recommend going back to step 1, going through to step number 9, which is the one you're listening to today. Also, if you haven't already done so, go to mycoloringbookidea.com and download the prep guide. Inside of that prep guide is also the layout of the roadmap, this roadmap visually. So make sure that you have that. It'll also accompany what you're listening to, so you'll get more of a sense of how this all flows. So again, I instructed you to create a lead magnet that you can give away, the lead magnet being sample pages from the forthcoming book that you're potentially putting together. I also talked about some sources for that you can also potentially find those pages. Go back and listen to number 8 if you want to get some information about that. All right. Now, one thing I want to say, what I'm going to share with you here is a viable tool that you can use as you're in the very beginning infancy stages of marketing yourself online using sort of traditional online marketing tools. The main one being collecting information from potential people or from people who potentially may want to buy your book. What I am going to say here is that this tool and how I'm going to present this to you is not a long-term solution. This is something that you can use for right now in this particular season, this moment, when you were just developing your idea. But I would not rely on this as a long-term solution. It is more manual in terms of delivery to the person who said they want it and has given you the contact information. There is a much more elegant, more automated way. But because this is an introduction to all of this for you listening, you may not be ready to invest in a tool where it will automate what I call a professional email management system. You may not be ready to invest in that yet. Those are not free. Those typically can run anywhere from, say, $15 up to $30 or more a month. And so you may not be at the point yet where you're ready to invest in a program like that just yet. Although there is a program that I do recommend for students and members who actually wish to automate this process, but I'm not going to cover that here because I feel like at this point in the game, you're just getting your feet wet. This could be a free option to get yourself started. But again, I can't emphasize it enough. I would not stay with this model. I did want to put that caveat in there. All right. So with that said, simply, if you're not familiar with it, Google Documents offers what they call a form. And I'll put a link to a sample of this inside the show notes. Basically, it's a data collection form that you can build out for free. You can even put a graphic banner at the top of it, as you will see in the sample. And what it basically has is 2 to more form fields. One of the form fields is the person's email address. The second form field is a name. First name, first and last name. It's up to you, whichever you want. And then there's a third question that I like to ask just to find out for sure that the people that have filled it out actually want to hear from me. So again, there's a link in the show notes here of this episode to go look at a sample of what I'm talking about so you can get a visual. Since you're listening to this, you don't see a video of this. This form you can put together, including with some graphics at the banner at the top. It looks very customized and branded to what you're thinking about putting together. And basically, you'll get a link. And in this link, you will then share that with the person who raised their hand and said, yes, I'd like to get your sample pages. When someone says they want your sample pages, you'll DM them the link to this form. And then once they go to that link and they fill out their information, whatever you asked for, then what you'll do is then you'll go into that form and you will look at where their information is stored. It's in the same document. So you'll see their name, you'll see their email address, and whatever questions you asked, all of that data will be there. Once you have that information, then you can then send them the link to where your document, the sampler that you made in step number 9, you can send them the link to that. So it's not just send them the link. You want to collect the information first and then send the link. Now, this is where I say this isn't a long-term solution. All of this is manual, meaning once you set the form up, you're going to have to go into this document or this form every day, sometimes multiple times a day, to see who's filled it out. That you know that they actually filled out their information. And then you have to then DM them the link to where they can get the freebie. In this case, the downloadable freebie. Start out with this if you don't want to invest into an email management system. But if you start seeing people really filling this out, I would then seriously consider switching over to a paid service fairly quickly. I wouldn't do this for more than maybe 15, 20, 25 people. Once you start really seeing people are filling this out, I would then look at switching over to a paid service that will handle the delivery. All righty. So what would happen is, as you saw if you go to my coloringbookidea.com, you saw that there was a page there that had a graphic, there was a video at the bottom, and there was a form field. When you put in your information, you were immediately sent to a page where you could download the prep guide. It doesn't work like this exactly with the Google form. You're just collecting the data, but Google is not sending the person that fills out the information anywhere. That part is not a part of that process. You're going to have to actually go in and check who filled it out and then get the link and then either DM them the link to the PDF. It's not automated like that. So what you saw with the page that I sent you to mycoloringbookidea.com, that's a paid email management service. And for me, that email management service is called GetResponse. I pay for that service. So the whole thing is automated. You fill it out, you get directed to where the page lives. You also get an automated email response from me that then acknowledges that you gave me your information. It also has a link again to the document. And then I can then set up what they call autoresponders, which is a series of automated messages that can be timed to go out over a period of days or weeks in order to be able to engage the audience on a deeper level. That's a whole other system. And it is something that I offer in depth inside of my Coloring Book Creator Society program. That's my higher level membership program that I offer, where I go into much more depth about all of that. This part here, this series, what you're listening to and what I'm talking about really is about the foundational steps. And I'm going to go into this much more in step number 10. What I'm showing you here is setting up your foundation. We're going to go into that more into step number 10. That's the final step. I'm going to recap everything that we've covered. And I'm going to share with you a way to get even more support from me in regards to implementing the things that I've shared with you in this entire series. With that said, I'm going to stop here, come back and join me for step number 10. We're going to recap everything we've covered and then next steps and how you can get more in order to be able to really put this in place and implement everything that I've shared. So I'll see you in the next episode. At the beginning of this podcast episode, you heard a snippet of a live coaching session that I had with one of my Coloring Book Creator mentee students, Christine Smith Gonzalez, and who has since the publishing or the coaching session that I had with her, she has since finished and completed her book, I'm happy to say. The name of her book is called Black History Worldwide Presents Canadian Women of Influence Coloring and Activity Book. I'll place the link in the show notes so that you can go check it out if you'd like. Also, I wanted to share that because I wanted you to get a taste of what it's like to work with me. As I said, I do provide, in addition to the course, the Coloring Book Creator course, I also have live coaching and mentoring that I do with all of my students. So unlike a lot of other online courses, especially for the price point of this course, typically you just get the audios and videos and content, but you really don't get a chance to really speak that much with the creator of the program. And that's where this program is very different. Included in the Coloring Book Creator course is 90 days of live coaching and mentoring with me. And so at any point you can ask me questions, and instead of having to rely on, some random email or something that you might get or waiting days to get a response, you are able to access me and to get live coaching and support. So I'm going to conclude this podcast episode, since the subject of this episode is around email list building. That's why I chose to put this coaching session in as a part of the experience. I'm going to wrap this episode with the conclusion of that coaching session with Christine. And as I said, I'm happy to report that her book is published and completed. So anyway, I'll see you on the next episode.
Right.
That's all you have to focus on.
Okay.
Because once that page is set up, once that document is set up and loaded, which of course that part I can help you with and walk you through that part, then the only thing that you have to do when time and energy permits is to go find the place that you can go. I'm producing a book coming out in the fall. You don't have to give a date. Mm-hmm. Just say in the fall of 2023, because then that also kind of starts to put you on the hook to rearrange where you can't get it done.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to come in and do a color and sip or a color and event. And the only thing I ask is that if I want to give one page away, so if say there's going to be 25 people, you print out 25 sheets of that one page. And then somewhere on that page, maybe in the corner or on the back or whatever the case may be, or whatever you want to do, say, hey, I have 2 more pages available to you to get from my forthcoming book coming out in the fall. That way they get incentivized to go to that forum, and now you're building your interest audience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if nothing more that you do is basically is just getting that foundational piece set up, and then that's all you do. Okay,
Yeah.
this I can go over there and approach them and do that event. I can go over there and approach them and then do that event. So we're not talking about trying to get booked on a podcast or all this other kind of stuff. It's just
Yeah, I think I was just totally overwhelmed with this book, this book. But if I can just break it down into small steps and work on a couple pages at a time or something, it makes it less overwhelming for me.
so it's just real important that we have to respect our energy.
Yeah.
And I will say this too, in terms of the page count. This can be a 25-page book, 30-page book. It doesn't have to be 50. It doesn't have to be 100 pages. So please take that one off your shoulders. It's got to be a 100-page book. It does not have to be a 100-page book. Okay? This is your first book. It can be 25 pages, 30 pages. The page count doesn't matter. It's having an audience of people to be ready to want to buy it when you do get it done.